Love that introduction, Dave.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Marty Ibeck. I ran the Legacy Users Group at York. Um, we basically demoed Legacy in its early days all the way through about 2018. And of course, we know what happened the next couple of years. And Lionel offered to do some virtual Legacy meetings. So we absolutely took them up on that. We're going to do a little video here. The app's been I guess, since about February, you guys kind of released it. And then base three, I can't remember, was that April or May it's been out? So
Uh,
it's been out there a little bit.
yeah, the app did go out kind of early summer, um, in which only the Bluetooth side of the app was
That's right.
activated, and then in July the base 3 shipped out, and we also released an update um, that enabled the base 3 side of the app. So it's we're gone 6 months now of the base 3 and the Cab 3 app being out there, and it's obviously had its challenges. Anything new. But it's been a really successful launch, and I've been pretty proud of the base 3 and how it's performed at people's layouts and positive responses from everybody. And hopefully you've seen the same.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, there's going to be some challenges during the release, and we thought it would be a good time though with the holidays coming up. There might be a few base threes under some trees, and thought it'd be a good time to review some of the basic setups and some of the basic functionalities and features of base three. So everybody, when they get it under the tree, they can hook it up and pretty much move in a positive direction and get their trains running.
Yeah, for sure. I thought we would take the time to do a presentation and kind of review top to bottom what the system's about. I'm sure many people watching, have already gotten the base 3 and have familiarized themselves with the Cab 3 app as well. But for those that are haven't really done that yet, this video will be good as kind of a preview as to what it'll do and what it can provide for them on their layouts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure in the past 6 months, you probably have learned from user experience some of the best practices to get that happening for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, probably an excellent time just to go and review the basics.
Yeah, for sure. So I can pull up the presentation if you're ready.
Sure.
Share screen. Yeah, there we go. Window. There we go. That works.
Yep.
So base 3 and Cab 3 app. So this is a similar presentation to what we showed, during our show here a year ago, and kind of updated for what's happened over the past year. But again, just some of the basics about the base 3 and the app for those who may not be familiar. It is called the base 3. It is the third iteration of a command base Lionel's come out with. The original TMCC base 1 and Cab 1 came out in around 1994, 1995, and then a lot of people are also familiar with the legacy system, or the 990 base 2 and Cab 2, that came out around 2005, 2006, and really was a game changer in the industry uh, with how many features and other things that are fun were added to legacy locomotives, and other operational characteristics you can do with layouts and the LCS system, etc. And it was time to once again introduce new technology into the command base space, especially as we face obsolescence issues with the 990 set, and so really gave birth to the base 3 and the Cab 3 app. So you can see the base 3 there on kind of the right side of the screen. In the center is modeled after the famous Hellgate Bridge in New York City. We have, as a company, a lot of history with the Hellgate Bridge, as well as this product, bridging the gap between a lot of our various control types that we've come out with over the years. for all of our various engines. So the base 3 is able to take pretty much every command control type locomotive we've made and bring it all under one roof, so you can use a single controller for them. So you can see the types there on the bottom of the screen, everywhere from Legacy, TMCC, and all of the various Lion Chief and Flyer Chief products. And even there on the bottom left, you see 4-digit, and that's our 4. It's basically Legacy, but with the 4-digit capabilities added in. That adds other never done before in Legacy features, and we'll talk more about that here later in the presentation. And finally, you see the various controllers there on the left that are compatible with the base 3. So a lot of people are very accustomed to the original cab controller. So this is compatible with the cab 1L remote. That's the blue one in the center. And that is one that we still produce. So you can go out and purchase one from a dealer anytime. Then you have the cab 2 remote there that a lot of people love and that we can't produce anymore, simply because a vast majority of the core components are obsolete. So that's why we moved into developing an app, which is the Cab 3 app there you see on the left, that runs on your smart devices. And so I'll talk about that more as well.
Yeah, it still amazes me how many people love the Cab 1 app or the Cab 1 form factor.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people they just like the simplicity, and it's an excellent remote for this.
Yeah, I mean, even when I just need to run an engine quickly just to test something, I'll grab one because it's fast and it's reliable, and you don't have to deal with the various screens like the Cab 2 has, which, I love all that stuff when I'm playing, but, in testing environments, it's sometimes easier to just do something that's fast and easy. So
Yeah, I actually picked one up about a year ago and started using it with base 3 because I wanted to learn, make sure how it worked and everything. And
yeah,
I find myself picking it up just as much as the Cab 2.
yeah, for sure. I'm just going to quickly go over some of the features on the base 3 itself, the physical features. So you see there's various lighting on both the front and the ends of the base 3. My office light's going off here. There we go. And the lights on the front are status lights. So you have the big Lionel Circle L. That is when you are connected to the base 3 over Wi-Fi. So that would apply to the Cab 3 app on your smart device, as well as the base 3 system utility, which is a PC utility on your desktop that is available for download from our website. And so when you connect either of those, that light's going to connect and turn on. And then there's the various lights below that, and those are all activity lights. So you can see the various colors listed there and what those are meant for. So anytime you send a command from the Cab 3 to the base 3, you're going to notice the green LED flicker. If you're using an older Cab 2 remote, you'll see the yellow light flicker, and there are also blue and red LEDs for the Lion Chief engines, whether they're RF uses red, or if there's blue, that stands for Bluetooth. And that's just a good, quick way to make sure that your controller is communicating properly with the base 3. You have the channel set right, or you have the Wi-Fi connected on your Cab 3 app. And it just really tells you at a quick glance that everything's working. Then there's various buttons and switches. On the left, the WPS button that goes along with Wi-Fi. Then there's a channel button, a remote channel button that applies to the Cab 1L and the Cab 2. So you can change the channels of the remote anywhere from 1 through 9. That helps, especially in an environment where there might be more than one command base, or if you're having signal interference issues. Sometimes changing the channel, it changes what frequency the remote and base are communicating on, so sometimes that can clear up interference issues. So that's what that's used for. And then finally, the little gear button, that's for when you're updating the firmware on the base 3. And then over on the right, there are 3 switches. One is AP and one is network. AP is when the base 3 is creating its own Wi-Fi network. So you're directly pairing your smart device to the base 3, and it's not connected to any outside network like your home Wi-Fi, for example. Whereas if you decide to switch to network, that's when you're connecting your base 3 to your home Wi-Fi network. And then you would also connect your Cab 3 app to the home Wi-Fi network as well. And that comes in handy when you don't want to switch the Wi-Fi on your smart device over. You want to just be able to open the Cab 3 app and get connected right away. It also helps the app to still have internet connection when you're trying to download images for your locomotives. So, pros and cons to both AP and network. And I think most of us, here at least, we tend to go the network route for the reasons listed.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way I think the majority of people, but I can see where some people would just stay with the AP mode.
Yeah, for sure. The last two are run program switches. These are for Lion Chief engines that have Bluetooth or for RF. Now, RF engines were kind of the original Lion Chief engines. About 2014 up through 2017 is when we made those. And then anything after 2017 was Bluetooth. All of those engines, they don't have run program switches on them. For those who have them, they know that. So we put those switches on the base 3 itself, and that's what helps you add them into the base 3 roster, so you can run them with the remote of your choice. And we do have dedicated TMCC channels for each of those. RF engines run on TMCC IDs 2 through 9, and then Bluetooth, you can assign an ID of 10 through 29 or 30, I believe, because the base 3 is capable of running 20 Bluetooth engines at once, which is pretty impressive. So. Next slide is kind of the back of the base 3, just kind of where all the business happens in relation to interfacing with the layout. So the base 3 has an on-off switch. The binding post is what you connect to the outside rail of your track or to the common or ground post of your transformers. And this is what sends TMCC signal or track link out to your layout. That is one of two of the bipole system that is TMCC. The other pole is, of course, sent through the ground wire, through the house wiring here, through the cable. We also have an external antenna that we added. This is strictly for Cab 1L and Cab 2. So you can position this antenna. If you have signal issues, you can change the position of the antenna to try and maximize it for your layout. We do have LCS control. So we added 3 PDI ports here. It used to be limited to just one, but now you can have 3 separate daisy chains here for LCS modules. And there's a lot of information on LCS on the website, control.lionel.com. And you only need to use PDI cable per LCS module, and then daisy chain them together. We used to have the Y cable, if you remember, that would connect to the DB9 on the back of the base 2, and then you'd have to have a separate power source. But all of that's now built into the base 3, and you only need the single PDI cable.
So if somebody's replacing a legacy base, you're taking your one wire, putting it on the U, removing the Y cord. You might have to get a PDI cable to obviously go to the first device, and then you just plug it in the back, and you're basically up and running again.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to reconfigure all of your LCS. You can just, at least in terms of the wiring, you just connect the first one in line with a single PDI cable to the base 3, and you're good to go.
And I mean, also, technically, the addressing and everything on the LCS modules is still within the module. So you go into base 3 and you just call up that address and enter the pertinent information and name it, and you're back running again.
Yeah, for sure. The modules will retain their IDs. It's just, in the app and with the base 3, you might have to go back in and say, this is my ASC number 1 or whatever you want to do to label it. That's all. Then we have the USB connection. The base 3 does come with a USB cable. There really isn't anything Lionel provides that requires that USB cable, but we did add that in there to provide data, especially for LCS developers. There are some out there that use this kind of data connection to a PC, for instance, to communicate with the command base to control layouts. So that is why we added that USB connection there. There is the memory module support too. This is a carryover from the 990 system. And the base 3 does include a memory module, a black one that is writable. So you can use that with your base 2 if you have one. Save your base 2 roster to it, and then import the engines into your base 3 instead of having to manually go in and enter them all. You can also use it to create a CAB2 update module. So the CAB2 firmware is 1.74 right now, and a lot of the updates that had been done were to support the base 3. So I do recommend, if you have the base 3 and you have an older CAB2, to update the firmware to 1.74. And there's more info on the control site on how to do that.
Yeah, we actually did quite a few at the last Fall York.
Okay.
Getting up to 1.74. So actually, I've upgraded a base too, firmware wise, a base 3.
Nice.
So
nice. Yeah, it doesn't take too long. I mean, less than 30 seconds usually with the base 3, and it's upgraded.
Yeah.
And then lastly, there is the breath lights, as we call them. They're on each end of the base 3, the Lionel there, and they just kind of glow in and out as breath lights when all systems are go on the base 3. And then if the base 3 ever has some kind of internal issue that the diagnostics catch, those lights will flash. And we have a whole page on the control site about diagnostics, so you can figure out what's going wrong. And some of them you can fix yourself, and some of them will indicate that you have to send the unit into us for repair.
I think you missed the master on-off switch. I think that's a really nice feature. To be honest.
Yeah. The something that the base 2 didn't have, which is really nice to have. We were really driven into adding that here, especially when it comes to doing firmware updates on the base 3. So you have to turn the base 3 off, hold that gear button on the front of the base 3, and then flip the switch on to power the base 3 up to put it into updater mode. So there was a real necessity for it. But even before that, we still wanted to add that switch in there because it's just nice to be able to power it on and off without having to unplug it from the wall.
Well, the whole internal power supply too is nice, not having to worry about the brick.
Yes. Yeah, and that one was, we wanted to have an internal power supply too, so that you don't have to have a brick. But that one was actually driven by regulatory. This product was not allowed to have an external brick anymore, like the base 2 had. So we had to integrate all that in, and it turned out quite well.
Yeah.
So I've already covered, what the base 3 is controlled by with the Cab 1L, the Cab 2, and the Cab 3 app as well. So just kind of gives you an overview of each. But I do want to discuss the Cab 3 app. I'm going to go over the basic outline of it, and then, talk about some of the updates we've had over the past number of months, as well as some of the projects that we still have to work with it. I mean, it's definitely an ever-growing app and will be for quite some time. So, both on fixing bugs that are challenges, as well as adding new features. I mean, we have a list of new features that we would love to add and just continue doing development with this. So it gives us a really good platform to continue updating. Now, many people might be familiar with the Lion Chief app that we had that we did launch back in 2017 on both iOS and Android. And so the Bluetooth tab of the Cab 3 is an updated version of the Lion Chief app, going from the horizontal landscape view to the vertical that the Cab 3 uses. But you'll recognize a lot of the buttons as being the same, the throttle and all the audio buttons, as well as many of the setting screens and whatnot are all similar to the Lion Chief app. And what the Bluetooth tab does is allow for one-to-one pairing between your smart device and your Bluetooth equipped Lionel engine. So you don't have to have a command base on this tab. This is really good for somebody that buys a starter set and doesn't want to buy a command base yet. So you can pull your starter set out of the box, set it up, and immediately use the app to run your locomotives. This is also good if, say, you have visitors to your layout and just don't have enough, Cab 1Ls, Cab 2s, or whatever to give everybody to play with a train, or you don't want to give your Cab 2 to your little grandkid.
Been there, done that.
Yep. So it's really good to, hand them this app, connect to the engine, and just have them go to town.
Well, and more likely, they're probably more apt to run with the app because they're always on tablets, and they're just they're born in that generation. They take to it real quick.
Yeah,
I think it might be a good time to mention about the backgrounds, especially with Christmas.
Oh, that is right.
Got the Polar Express background, if I recall. You got the Christmas background.
Actually,
A lot of Polar Express sets coming out, I imagine, under the tree as well.
Yeah, actually, let me. I got my phone connected here, so let me demo that. Some people, might have missed it on the website, so let me. Yeah, there we go. So this is my Cab 3 here, and if you switch to the different screens using swipe. So you swipe left, down, up, down, left, right to get to various screens. And on the app, what you do is swipe up and you get over to the engine settings menu. But this is where you have the option to change the skin of the Lion Chief side of the app. So you see there at the top left, it says Lion Chief, and then there's a button that kind of just shows a generic picture. We tap on that, and this is where you have different themes available. Lion Chief is the default, but you can do Christmas theme, for example. And so it changes the skin on the Bluetooth side of the app. And it's just, more festive, right? So all the buttons change, and it's really kind of fun, especially if you're running Christmas trains around the tree or whatnot. And so you get different options. And, this list will grow in time as well. Right now we have just 3 of them. So at some point, we'll be able to add more as time permits. I've had a number of people, I think including you, request a Halloween skin. So I think that would be fun as well, and doing some other themed ones.
Well, especially you guys are putting out, this year and in the past years, so much Halloween stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as amazing as it sounds, or maybe not amazing, Halloween has become a big train time, which is kind of, growing up, it was always Christmas, but
Yep.
The Halloween trains, they seem to be very popular.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why you see us offering so many more, is because they have really become popular in the past 5 years or so, and a lot of that is spearheaded by Megan, one of our project managers. She absolutely loves Halloween, and she does a wonderful job in picking Halloween product. So it always kind of hits the ball out of the park with those offerings. So I do think a Halloween skin is in the works.
Cool.
Now those skins do only apply to the Bluetooth side. There's a lot more stuff going on the Base 3 side of the app, so we haven't offered.
Yeah, just a little busier over there.
Yeah, we haven't offered various skins on that side of the app. Not to say that won't happen someday. It's just the current state. But the screen there on the right, this is when you are over on the Base 3 side of the app. And when you first go into this tab, it will automatically try to connect to the base 3. Say the base 3 is not on, or the IP address isn't set correctly. One thing that I don't think people understand sometimes or don't know it exists here, but this guy here is red when it's not connected to base 3. It does turn green when it does find a connection to the base 3. But you can tap on this to make the app try to connect to the base 3 again. So you can use that button there to try to reestablish connection. And this is, I'll just go down through the various buttons here, but also some of the updates we've made over the past few months. But this is showing, I was connected to a 4-digit Class A that I have here on my desk. So you can see this is the TMCC ID here, or 4-digit ID if it's not 1 through 99. And this is one of the engines that would automatically import its image from our online database. So that's where it helps to have the network connection when you're connecting to your base 3. But you also have the option to double tap on this area and then take your own picture of your engine if you want. I know a lot of people love that feature because it allows them to take a custom image that they can more quickly identify. And you can also scroll through your other engines quickly without using the ENG screen. If you just use these left and right arrows here, that'll allow you to quickly scroll through engines that are in your roster. And then here's your keypad. This is similar to the keypad on a Cab 2 for those that are familiar with the Cab 2. These are all various buttons that control the train. And these do change based on the type of device. So obviously it's showing steam buttons here with blow down, water fill. These will change if you're controlling, say, a legacy diesel. You'll get RPM plus and RPM down buttons, etc. One of the changes that we have made, it was a few months ago. This side of the app has so many things going on that swiping to various screens was a bit of a challenge just because there's so many buttons here. So we did add these left and right arrows here. When you do use these, like if you go to the left arrow, it will give you a bunch of set dialog options. If you go to the right, that takes you to the speed screen where you have access to the preset speeds as well as some of the volume controls, smoke controls.
Yeah, I remember, people were having some difficulty with that, and that was definitely an improvement.
Yeah.
And it also shows you guys are listening.
Yeah, for sure. Over here on the right, you have the whistle and bell slider. Now, this does replicate the whistle bell slider that is on the Cab 2. So if you touch the screen here and slide it down at various positions, you're going to get the quilling whistle that legacy engines are known for. And if you're wondering what level am I at, these arrows here will turn orange as you get to those different levels. And it's the same with the bell. If you put your finger on the screen, slide up on the bell, you can do the quick single hit bell, or if you hold it, you can latch on the bell. But we also needed it to be position sensitive, just like the Cab 2, because you do have engines that have the swinging bell feature. And I don't know if you've ever played with it, but if you go to various levels on the slider of the Cab 2, you can make the bell go up without actually ringing. It's like you're an engineer in their cab and you're pulling down the string and just not making it ring yet. And so that replicates that pretty well, and that has the same orange arrow features to help you quickly see what level you're pulling it at. Continuing on, we have the train brake here. So this does open a separate pop-up where you get your train brake slider, which is similar to the train brake slider that's on the left side of the Cab 2. There are still some challenges in the train brake slider. We've kind of got it working to a basic level, but we want to refine that, and that is definitely in our to-do list. But that does apply the brakes, and you get different sound effects with that. And it also is critical to other features such as the Vision Line Triplex we came out with this year. You have to use the train brake as one of the ways to access the wheel slip feature. as well as being able to use the boost button there, which is next to it. Now here there is a direction button, and one question I get often is, well, the engine I'm connected to right now, it just says DIR for direction. It doesn't have forward and reverse. So that is actually by design, and that's because older engines like TMCC or newer ones that are in the LC 2.0 family, which are also controlled by TMCC, those only have a direction toggle. They don't accept commands for forward and reverse. So we're not going to know what direction those engines are set to. So that's why direction is shown. So the forward and reverse is going to be shown for engines where we do know what direction it's set to, like in legacy engines. So that's a good one that people ask about often, and they, there's limitations to older engines like TMCC, right? It was never designed with two-way communication and smartphone apps in mind back in the day. So
Well, and it's what, going 25, almost 30 years
30
ago?
years, yep.
Yeah.
And then you got your throttle slider here, and up here are the numbers. These are the actual speed steps. So on legacy engine, you're going to get 0 to 200. On TMCC, you're going to get 0 to 32. And for those familiar with the Cab 1L or the Cab 2, people are used to the red knob. And if you double tap on these numbers, you'll actually get the red throttle knob. It'll pop up and you can use it that way. And then you just tap off that to exit. So we thought that was a nice little Easter egg in the app to get that old school throttle feel. Down in the bottom, we have the different aux keys. And these all do various things depending on the engine. So it's really important to review your engine's user manual to see what the aux buttons do. For example, aux 1 is used on newer legacy engines. You can change your whistle or your bell setting there. So if you have your 5 different whistles on a legacy engine, use aux 1 and then hit the whistle, and that will change to the next whistle. It's the same with the bell. Aux 2 is typically used for lighting. You can use just press aux 2 for turning off all engine lighting, or you can hold aux 2 and it will bring up the lighting menu where you can change different lighting settings to kind of a granular scale, turn on and off cab lights and change marker colors and things like that. And then aux 3 has always kind of been a special button. So any features where we've added special features, especially on Vision engines, we'll use aux 3. So usually it's either a special sound feature, or on some of the engines with newer engines with the swinging bell, the aux 3 can disable the swinging bell if you'd like. Some engines, it'll activate pop-off smoke. So again, you have to review your engine manual to see what that aux 3 button is for. Next to aux 3 there, you see the red triangle. Now that is basically the halt button, is the emergency stop for your entire system. So that's going to stop all of your engines, all of your anything else that's running, basically. And that button applies to both the base 3 and the Bluetooth side. So if you do have a Bluetooth engine running on the other tab, that will be impacted as well.
And they work if you're on the Bluetooth side and you press it, everything stops on the other side.
And it's a universal button because it really is meant as an emergency stop. Now, initially that button was you just tap it and it would stop, but it's a very easy button, especially with it being done by the throttle, to accidentally touch. So we did add a timer to that in one of the releases, and many people did share feedback that the initial timer, which I believe was 2 seconds, was too long for some of it. So if you do go into the base setting menu, you get there using the base button at the bottom right there, and that's how you get to the base setting menu. We have added a slider where you can adjust the time that it takes to hold that button, anywhere from like a quarter of a second, I think, up to 2 or 3 seconds. Whatever your preference is on how long you hold that button down. This row here is for the different devices. So you have engines on the far right, trains or transformers, routes, which activate a number of switches, SW, which is for switches, command control switches to throw them straight or out. And then ACC is for accessories. So if you have any TMCC equipped command control accessories, or accessories used for a lot of the LCS modules as well. And finally, the last two buttons on the bottom, these are quick buttons to get to the various menus that used to be accessible via swipe. So if you would swipe down, that is how you would get to the base menu, base settings menu, where you can change your Wi-Fi configurations and many other things in that screen. And then the button on the left with the engine, that's for the engine settings menu. So whichever engine is currently shown here, that button would enter the settings menu for that engine so that you can change road name, road number, control type, momentum, so things like that. So adding those buttons, again, was another feedback from people having struggles with the swiping.
Yeah, I can't remember if you mentioned it. You can do speed limit underneath the speed display if you press and hold it down, correct?
I believe speed limit is
up under the three digits up there.
Let me check real quick since I still have the app up. I just forget sometimes where they're at, so I don't. Yes. So if you hold down under here where these 3 digits are, you can get a pop-up where you can set a speed limit for your engines. And these engines, or this speed limit, is based on the engine you're currently on. It's not going to be universal for all engines. So you can set different speed limits based on your different trains.
So you don't have to hit the halt button when your grandson grabs the app and cranks it. Now, is that a universal if across remotes, or is that just to the app?
So that one sets the speed limit in the engine itself in the base 3. So that's a parameter set to that TMCC address saved to the base 3's roster.
Okay, so
yep.
That'll be effective across all remotes then.
Yeah. Now that differs. That differs on the Bluetooth side. You can also set a speed limit, but that lives in the app itself. So that's kind of artificially set versus where the speed limit on the base 3 side actually sets it in the engine's record in the base 3. And these are also some of the other high-level features of the app, especially the train builder. You can go in and build a train. And I was pretty happy with the UI on this because it does show you the different images of the engines as you add them. Now, what you do is when you first start building a train, it loads in the engine roster. So that's button down here if you want to reload it. And then when you want to add an engine, you tap on this button here and it'll do a pop-up list of all the available engines to add to the train. And you just keep doing that until you get all of the engines in there that you want added. And then this is where you can go through and swap positions of the engines, as well as, say you have an A, B, A set, like the trailing A would be backwards, so you want to reverse the direction. And then you can decide which one is going to play the horn and bell, which one plays dialogue. We also have train link devices. Now, train link devices are typically reserved for station sound diners or other sound cars, such as the Vision Reefers.
Yeah, I just got one of those and did a video on it.
So it makes it really easy where you use the train link button on the main screen, and that gives you the different control options for that device without having to switch over to it the traditional way of pressing ENG and the ID and enter.
Yeah.
So. And you can also name your train, give it a number, and plenty of other options here. You read more about tail unit with accessory legacy or hybrid. All of this information is on the website, so it gets pretty complicated, especially as you add in compatibility with older devices like TMCC and whatnot.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but you referenced the website quite a bit, and I always try to push people to the website because there's a lot of information there, and I know sometimes we like to jump in and try something and get frustrated when it doesn't work, and and sometimes it may not work, and that's perfectly fine. But a lot of times, go to the website, take a read, take 10 minutes to check it out, and I, it's a phenomenal website as far as the amount of information.
Yeah.
And you covered, the app, you're covering, the power supplies and everything. It's all in one place.
Yeah, and it really is uh, a website meant as a user manual and a reference guide to teach you how to go through and figure out the various features in the entire system. So,
And it's updated. Like,
yep,
you find something you know, with a book, yeah, there's a lot of people that like the book, and I understand that. But
yeah,
things change. You added some features. You update the website. You're ready to go.
yeah. Especially with the Cab 3 app and with Base 3 operating system updates, we just have so many features that we know we can continue to incorporate into these. That having a living, breathing website when we add stuff really was important, and having printed manuals, they would have been obsolete very quickly. So, um, one nice part about the digital age is having the website where you can quickly update the information to get it out to people.
Yeah.
Now, this is if you press on that button that we showed here a minute ago, the Base 3 settings configuration button, that'll bring you to these screens here, the base details. And this is where you can go in and configure your Wi-Fi settings, especially if you're connecting to a home Wi-Fi network. But you can also do other items such as, name your Base 3. It'll tell you the current firmware version on there, as well as give you the Base 3 firmware updater menu. Um, we do periodic Base 3 operating system firmware updates, and those are all listed on the control.lionel.com website, and along with the change list of what we've changed, added, fixed, etc. And then there's other options here, route switch throw rate. There's info on the website about that. This is your TMCC radio channel for the Cab 1L and Cab 2, and some other items like this RF command rate. You're only going to see it as low right now. That is a future update that we put in there just to be pre-planned, and so that might get used in the future. This is where you can also use your memory module to create a database backup of your Base 3. And then once again, this is an older screenshot, but you can create an update memory module for your Cab 2. This one's still showing 1.70, but we are up to 1.74.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is also where you can set your delay for your halt. There's
Yes.
another menu item, and I think your hold for your brake or boost.
Yeah. There's quite a few more options down here that have been added. Again, this was a outdated screenshot that I forgot to update. As well as this button here, which does allow you to have haptic feedback if your device has that option. So you can turn that on and off here. What that does is changing the throttle. It'll shake the little motor inside your device, kind of like the Cab 2 did. Now this is on the right here. When you click on Wi-Fi connection settings, this is where it gives you all of the options for configuring your Base 3's Wi-Fi connection. So you can go in and enter your home Wi-Fi network's ID as well as password. And the base or the Cab 3 app should automatically detect. That's what this auto detect is, the IP address that is assigned to the Base 3 by the home Wi-Fi network. But if you do know the IP address, you can also enter it manually here. And using get and set, those are what pulls in. Get pulls in the information from the Base 3, and then set sends anything you change here. You hit set to send that information to the Base 3. And yeah, so here is where we do discuss the control.lionel website. And I honestly thought that it might be easier if I just bring up the site and do a screen share on it so I can navigate through it and show people the various things that have been added to the site since the last time we had our show here about a year ago, especially when it comes to the list where you can see base 3 operating system updates and cab 3 updates as well. So let me share this screen if I can get back to where I was.
And even individual pages, I noticed you guys have been putting an update date at the bottom. So if some information changed on like the controls or what have you, you can see the change when that happened.
Yeah. I closed it. Hold on 1 second. There it is. And so, yeah, here we go. And so you can see the website, and this is kind of the screen where you land when you first go to control.lionel.com, or you go to the you're in control selection under. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this sorted where I can see both you and the. I got too many things going on here. There we go. Share. There. So this is kind of the landing page here, and it kind of gives a rough overview as well as the various features. And there are some videos, and we continue to make some videos because sometimes, watching a video, a demonstration video, is easier to learn things than just trying to read. I know I definitely have that, so it is one of the things that comes in handy. But I'm not going to go through the entire website. We'd probably be here till midnight if I did, but I want to show show just a couple of important ones. First is the base 3 firmware updating. And so this is where you go to get information on the base 3 firmware. Now what this is the code that gets programmed into the base 3 itself. And this is what does everything from controlling track link to sending commands, and controlling the Wi-Fi module, the Bluetooth module, the RF module, all of the LCS stuff. And so there's a lot of code and a lot of work that's been put into the base 3 operating system. And so we do have to have periodic updates on that as we add additional features or, fix various minor bugs from here or there. And so it's set up as a message board. So when I release a new firmware version, you'll see a message pop up like this. And the current firmware version, which I released, back at the beginning of November, is 1.28. And you can download that here if you click here. And that is if you use the base 3 system utility, the PC app. That's how you would get it. Otherwise, you can also use the cab 3 app to do the update. And the cab 3 app will actually go out to the online database and download it itself, so you don't have to. But we do release notes when we do drop a new firmware version, so you can go through and read all those, and you can see everything that has changed over the previous version. Now, a lot of it.
Yeah, a lot of it probably doesn't make sense to most people.
Yeah, it's. I try to make it as least technical as possible, so you can kind of understand it, but still at some level, it's pretty in depth. But it does add a lot of changes that are not only important now, but will apply to other products and other feature upgrades in the future, especially surrounding the cab 3 app. For one example, some people were having struggles with their new Vision triplex, and so a lot of that we made some changes in the base 3 to help fix that. And then a lot of changes were made on the Cab 3 app side as well. And you can go down through the history of the various operating system updates we did. This was the initial. So since we shipped the base 3 back in July, there's been only 2, firmware updates we've pushed. And there will probably be another one before year's end that will be adding, additional updates for 4-digit addressing support and the like. So it's good to periodically check here to see if there's been an operating system update. Likewise, on the Cab 3 page, we do have information on the updates for when we push updates for the Cab 3 app as well. And that lives just Cab 3 app, which is the very first page under Cab 3. You can go down here and see a similar message board with notes on what has been changed. And the latest one was done kind of near the end of November, 1.1.047. And this applies to both iOS and Android releases. And you can go down through and see the items that we have fixed or the new features that have been added as well. But we also maintain a high-level feature list of things that still need to be both implemented and or fixed. So that way, if customers are like, well, this isn't working right now, this is one place that you can go in and see, oh, okay, they already know about that, they're working on it, so a future update will address that. One of those that is brought up quite often, it's actually right here, is using the TR for transformer control. So we talked about using TR for controlling trains or lash ups, and it can also be used for controlling transformers, command control transformers such as the ZWL, or you can use it for other items like the TPC 300 and 400s and the Power Masters, Legacy Power Master. And that allows you to turn on and off track power or vary track power if you're trying to run conventional engines. And right now that feature is not working with the Cab 3 app, and we have been looking into that for the past few months. And it's one of those ones that is kind of a thorn in our side and trying to get it fixed. And we continue to work on it, but it's taking a little bit of time, and it will probably be sometime first quarter of 2025 when we see that fixed. But know that that's the top issue right now for us to work on and get out there is fixed. And that's probably the number one that I've seen reported. Probably you as well, Marty.
Yeah, that's it's out there. But that you can still use a Cab 1L or a Cab 2 and it works.
Yeah, that or the other workaround is, for example, with the ZWL, you can also program it as an ENG and get the same functionality. So that's another workaround, just temporary until we get this fixed. So we've had, I think, 5 Cab 3 app updates since launch in July, and we'll have even more as we continue to add features and fix other bugs as well. And this is the page to get that info from.
And if they go here and they don't find an issue that they're having, they can also email it, talk to us, and at least let you guys know something they're seeing. Correct?
Yeah, for sure. The best way is to send an email. When you write it in, it's hard to explain over phone. If you call talk to us, the best way is to send an email to talktous@lionel.com. And the call center agents will forward that on to me, and we'll go through and validate and then add it to our list of known issues so that we can get it fixed.
And just as a side note, try to give them as much information as you can, what platform you're using, what iOS, what version of the app you're on, and so forth. Because the more information Dave gets, the easier it is for him to possibly replicate or have a solution to your problem.
Yeah, I mean, there are always device-specific issues too that we can't replicate, or someone will come in and say, this isn't working, but it's on my iPad, because everything else we've tested, it works fine. So especially when it's newer devices, so we'll go out and get an iPad and test it, and okay, yeah, that's right, that doesn't work on that, and we'll fix it. So it's definitely important to let us know what platform, what device, what operating system that you are experiencing the issue with. And as Marty mentioned before, there are other features here on the website or other product lines. I mean, we have an entire LCS section here for all of the various LCS modules, and this has all been updated to have information on how LCS integrates with the Base 3 and the Cab 3 app. And so there are videos here as well, just speaking about what LCS is, as well as various charts. This is what I want to do. Okay, well, this is the product you need. A list of all the products as well, and what their SKUs are. And then just all the various products that you can go through and check out. And at the bottom of every one is a link to the user manual as well. Just kind of as
I love that
quick,
functionality, because you can go
yeah,
right to the LCS module, scroll down, hit the manual,
yep,
and refamiliarize yourself with the controls. I mean,
yeah,
such as the sensor track, the 9 pre-programmed actions.
yeah.
Sometimes I just 0, I know, does nothing, but after that, I gotta go back and look.
I work here and I don't remember them off. I always have to go back and look myself. So it's nice to have the quick access to the manuals. And then we have a power control section, and this is dedicated to the various transformers that we do, and it's set up in a way to help people, especially if they're new to the hobby, decide what kind of power they need. So various recommendations down here to, I only have a small layout and this is how many engines I want to run. So, we tell people, okay, get a CW80, or, as much as I would love to sell every customer in the world a ZWL, not everybody needs a ZWL. So this is a good reference chart for people to use to figure out their power. And then each of those power products does have a page here, some with videos, but most of them are describing what the power product is. And again, they all have links to the manuals down at the bottom. And then we do have the page that describes both of our legacy Power Masters, both the traditional 180 watt version and then the 360 watt version. And that does go through all the various features on those, along with videos and once again, power manual links. So lots of information on the website, and people have said, well, there's so much information, how do I find what I want? So that is why we did incorporate a search bar up at the front. So if I want to figure out, well, how do I configure my Wi-Fi? So just type in Wi-Fi and you can get the various pages where Wi-Fi is mentioned, so that you can click on that and go in and, okay, so this is how I configure my Wi-Fi. And you'll get step-by-step instructions on how to connect your home network if you're doing WPS, or there's even a section on how to do it without WPS, because many Wi-Fi routers nowadays don't have WPS. And we put a lot of information here. For example, we have the frequency charts of all the various Wi-Fi channels, the frequency charts of the TMCC channels. So if people are ever experiencing issues with interference, you can go in here, see the various channel frequencies, and change them and just test and see what works best in your environment. And I think over back on the presentation, that's that was the Base 3 system utility. And that is also here on this page. But let me switch back over now to the to sharing the presentation that I was doing. Hang on one second. There we go. Um, and so here's the base 3 system utility. And this is also available for download on the control website. And this is designed to work only on PCs. It'll, we've worked on it to work up through Windows 10. I know Windows 11 is out now. We haven't switched over to Windows 11 here yet at Lionel, so we'll be taking a look at that when we are inevitably forced into Windows 11. But the base 3 system utility allows you to do many things when you're interacting with the base 3. The majority of it is all available through the CAB 3 app, but some people find it easier to, for example, add their engine information through this utility rather than doing it on their smart device. This also allows you to use memory modules if you want to import your database from your base 2 into your base 3. And just a whole lot of information. We also added a rather basic command panel, so you can go there and you can use that to control engines through your base 3. It's very basic, so it really only offers enough options to test engines, and that's what it was originally intended for. But you do have that option here.
Yeah, so you're not going to run your layout from that tab.
No, it really is just meant for basic, easy testing. Have you used it, Marty?
I've used it. Did some firmware updates. Got a couple base 3s. So there's one upstairs next to my chair up in the living room that, if I'm on the forum or something, somebody has a question, I can just reach down, connect to it, and see if I'm seeing what they are. The kind of cool thing is you don't necessarily have to have the layup up and running.
Yeah.
The only difference is the train's not going to move, but pretty much everything else happens as long as you don't need that feedback from the engine. You can kind of play around with it, which is what I did even before I put it on the layout.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, again, everybody kind of gets the new thing, jumps in there. I sat there with it next to me on the end table and connected to it and just played, added engines, named engines, even though there's nothing really out there on the layout, and just poked around on the app, poked around in the base 3 a little bit, and I did the same with the base 3 utility. Just connect it to my base. It's upstairs, not on the layout, so I don't have to worry that later on I might have messed something up accidentally.
Yeah.
And just poked around, and that's how I learned a lot of the base 3 system utility.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is a smart way to do it. You can import your roster from your base 2. You can configure your Wi-Fi connection. You can do all of that before you actually integrate the base 3 into your layout if you want. So,
and the other thing I didn't do is take even though I disconnected the legacy base, it's still where it was.
Yep.
When I disconnected it. Just moved the wires over, left the Y cord hooked to it. So if I needed to go back, and when there was times I got a little frustrated with the base, my learning curve with the base 3, I stopped, hooked up the legacy base, ran some trains for a while, went back, figured it out, and moved on. So
that's good. Okay, so really what I got left is just kind of an update on the 4-digit addressing. It's changed quite a bit since we last talked about it a year ago, especially with the biggest development being us integrating 4-digit addressing into all legacy locomotives going forward. So everything that you saw in the 2024 Volume 2 catalog that is legacy, all of those will have 4-digit train addressing or 4-digit locomotive addressing. And this information is all on the website too, but it does show you which locomotives are equipped with the 4-digit addressing prior to that catalog. Most of them were Vision Line, but then we did come out with our special announcement of the ET44 engine back in April. We had our brass hybrid Challenger. So we've really been making some headway in developing the 4-digit addressing scheme and adding more features to it and increasing the reliability of its performance. So that is one thing that I am excited about. We still do have more development to go on it. There you can see on the bottom right, real-time metrics for fuel and water. That's using bidirectional communication with the locomotives. Though that has been implemented in the locomotives, but it is still something that needs to be added to the app itself. So that will only be a future update of the app. You don't have to worry about, oh, is my engine got to be reprogrammed? But a lot of that information already exists in the locomotives themselves. We just have to get that feature implemented in the app. And then someday we do plan on implementing 4-digit trains. Right now, even with the 4-digit locomotive, you can still only have a 2-digit train. And so 4-digit trains will be coming at some point in the future as well. And that'll be an exciting new add. So have you had the chance to play with any 4-digit engines, Marty?
I have the Class A,
Yeah.
and I must say it was nice when I first entered it and connected, and everything popped up on the screen. It was ready to go. It had a picture. Um, yeah, it's definitely you don't necessarily need the sensor track to go over anymore. And although we were talking a little bit before the event that you're getting that information from some of the newer locomotives, that even not being 4 digit. So
Yeah.
that's really cool functionality.
Yeah, the website specifies which, when that implemented, I can't remember off the top of my head, but we, even for 2-digit addressing, we were able to piggyback on the Bluetooth module in our engines and have it send its engine information back to the base 3 when you do program an engine. So even if you get some newer 2-digit engines and you program them in, you'll see them automatically populate the base 3's database with the engine name, number, and control type, as well as the app will then go out to our online database and import the image. And you can do all that without having to do it manually or without having to run the engine over a sensor track. And obviously that's not retroactive. In older engines, they simply don't have the code built in, but it is something new that we were able to implement into newer locomotives. It's part of continual development. As you know, you're an engineer as well, and when we make new changes and apply it to current products, sometimes those cool new features aren't applicable to older locomotives, but going forward, it definitely makes newer technology more exciting.
Yes, certainly does.
Mm-hmm. So that's all I had in the presentation. I mean, we can take questions now, or if you have a list of questions you'd like to go over, Marty, that'd be cool too.
Um, I don't think so. I mean, we didn't really solicit any questions from the forums because we kind of knew we wanted to do just a an overview,
Yeah.
and didn't really want to get into why isn't this doing this, why isn't this doing that. And although eventually we'd like to, but we really wanted to do uh, a basic review, get everybody back up to speed. And sometimes it's the basic stuff that we overlook, and then we get a little frustrated and get reminded, oh yeah, I got to do this, and I forgot to do that.
Yeah.
So no, I don't have any questions, so I would see if there's anything coming in from the folks watching online.
Yeah. So I'm just scrolling down through the various ones that came in since we were talking, and I can answer them. Um, you know, he asks, can I run TMCC engines with the Base 3 app? And the answer is yes. You can program your TMCC engine into the Base 3 using the Cab 3 app. You just set the control type as TMCC or Cab 1. And all that information is on the website if you want to peruse those pages to learn how to add your TMCC engines. This was a good one. Can you use the I/2 sensors directly to the Base 3? The question is no. You still need the main LCS IRV2 box, the blue box, and the sensor add-ons connect to that. So the add-on that is only if you already have an LCS IRV2.
It's good to see those back in production.
Yeah, we had to take them out of production for a couple of years just with some challenges we had, but we were able to bring them back, and they have been one of the more popular LCS modules, especially with people that use other track systems where there's not built-in road bed, so it's easy to add the sensors down in between the rails. This is a good one. Can a Lion Chief locomotive run with the base 3 if it's not Bluetooth? And so those Lion Chief engines would have RF, which predated the Bluetooth. So engines made 2014 through 2017, around in there. So yes, those would use the RF run program switch that's on the front of the base 3 and would be programmed in with TMCC IDs 2 through 9. So yes, your older Lion Chief engines are compatible with the base 3.
So when you add a Bluetooth or RF engine into base 3,
Mhm.
and you might be using a cab 2,
Mhm.
does the numeric keypad change to some icons, or?
Yeah, so when you control a Lion Chief loco, whether it's Bluetooth or RF, the controller that you're using, a Cab 2 or the Cab 3 app, it's going to set the control type to TMCC. So basically, it views it as a TMCC locomotive, and when the commands get sent down to the base 3 knows, it acts as a switchboard and sends the appropriate Bluetooth or RF command out to the locomotive. So that was kind of our option. Was, it wasn't prudent to set those up as a legacy type, so we used TMCC the type as that was what was existing.
So
So
you'll have the icon for like volume and some of the. Yeah, okay.
And the features in those Lion Chief and Lion Chief Plus engines varied. So you might have, smoke control buttons showing on an engine that doesn't have smoke, and so those just wouldn't do anything. So
Yeah, you got to have the engine has to have the functionality.
Feature. Yeah, exactly.
For the button to work. So.
This one I've seen a lot, but Marty, you really have been a huge help to people, both on the forum and as I've heard at the York show, and helping people learn how to set up their base 3 and use the Cab 3 app as well as their remotes. So I think everybody in the industry is very grateful for all you've done to help, and having these shows as well as answering people's questions. And I know I'm grateful for you to help bail out when I don't always have the time to get on the forums and help people. So
Well, and I appreciate that. And one thing I noticed with the launch of Base 3, there's a lot of people out there just willing to help. Some of us take to this a little easier. I think me and you talked a little bit about Sean's videos out there and the tremendous amount of time he put into those. And it's amazing how many people, pick up on some of the stuff and are just willing to share that information. So, yeah, as much as I like to take some credit, it's a whole group of people that are just happy to help.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like the bulk of the questions. So that should do it for questions on our show. But as always, you guys can always go out to the forums where Marty peruses and ask questions, or don't be afraid to reach out to us here at Lionel as well. Talk to us at lionel.com directly to ask questions or to report bugs, as we mentioned earlier, on the app, or any other information you need. And as we've kind of pressed on a few times here, the control.lionel.com website really is a valuable resource. And make sure you go there first when you have a question, see if the content has been added there, and if not, then reach out to us, and we're here and willing to help.
Yeah, I think in my signature, I have the at least on the various forums, I have the Lionel website, because to me that should be your first place to go.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was always the one that had to try it first and then and see if I can't get it. Then yeah, it's great to ask questions, and but sometimes I understand you just want to get up and running. So that's the website is definitely a great place to start. And if you can't figure it out from there, like Dave said, reach out to Lionel, reach out to the forums. Somebody's going to probably have the answer, and if they don't, they'll tell you and probably send you back to Lionel.
Yep, and we'll figure it out.
Yep.
But hey, I'm just as guilty as anybody else, right? I write these manuals, write locomotive manuals, but if I buy a shelf at IKEA, I'm probably throwing the manual away and just going to figure it out on my own. So we can preach, but we're also guilty.
Oh, absolutely. Trust me, I know. So,
Well, thanks for being on, Marty, and thanks for having this virtual lug meeting with me. And you got anything else you want to add?
no, I think that's it. I just want to thank you personally. I know, sometimes it probably gets frustrating for you too, because you want everything to you want to put it out there and it's going to work perfect the first time. And unfortunately, with technology, that's just not the way it is. And but I appreciate you sticking there and attacking the issues and providing the information and what I consider a pretty darn good product. And it is a learning curve, but that's new technology for all of us.
Yep.
And thank you to everybody who watches. Thanks for everybody that asks questions. We all learn. Don't hesitate to ask a question on the forum or on the forums, because if you put your question out there, somebody might be having the exact same problem, and that's how we all learn. And I don't know everything, and I learn a lot from people just asking the question, and I'm like, well, let me see if I can figure that out. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Maybe you have to go watch somebody else's video online, but um, thank you for everybody that just participates. That's how we all learn.
Yeah, I echo your sentiment, and I appreciate it, Marty.
All right. I hope we can do this again, maybe in a couple more months, or at least after train season for you guys, things slow down. We were talking a little earlier, and you said it's a little bit of a madhouse there at Lionel with everything coming in and going back out the door. So
yes,
I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule there.
It is definitely the wild time of year, that's for sure. So.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Marty, and thanks everybody again for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.
Take care.
Bye-bye.